Hey everybody, Zach here, and today we are working on a saxophone, and I am here with
The unnamed child.
the unnamed child. So, we have a saxophone here. This is
Accent.
accent. There we go. Totally didn't remember who made it. Who actually makes this?
I don't know.
Okay, so it's kind of a cheap student saxophone here. This is an alto, by the way, and yeah, we're gonna go ahead and replace a deal on here. I don't know exactly what this is called, but it's one of these little metal bits that's soldered onto the body here that some kid has dropped this and broken off. And since my kids have been in marching band, I've gotten really good at fixing instruments, so I figured I would share some of that knowledge with you. So starting off here, I'm taking this brace off. This just kind of holds the bell and the body of the saxophone together. You didn't necessarily need to take this off. It just made it easier to access the springs and the pin that holds the valves on. Now I'm taking the springs off here with some little picks and with some needle nose pliers there that have a round, smooth jaw. I don't know exactly what you call those, but they're kind of handy for this. I just happen to have them in my toolbox, and yeah, they worked out pretty well. There's little needle springs down there that hold, like I said, hold the valves open or closed there. I just had to get them loose. And then now I'm taking a screwdriver here. Tried to have unnamed child here do it first, but it was kind of stuck and I didn't want to take a chance on stripping that screw out, so I took over. And you couldn't really get it in a good angle. I guess it would have helped if I'd had a longer, smaller screwdriver to get on it, but we got it out of there. It's just like a threaded rod that goes down the length of the valves there, so it kind of acts as a pivot point and holds them in there. So we had to get that loose and slide it out to get that back valve off. Yeah, there we go. I think I just took my fingers and worked it out of there, and yeah, I guess I did have to use some pliers there. So yeah, just get it loose here, and then you can kind of wiggle that bottom valve out. You probably could have wrapped that bottom valve cork in some foil and gone ahead and done this, but since this is a not my or my child's saxophone, I did not want to take a chance on doing any damage to it. And also their marching band competition was the next day, so I wanted to make sure that it was taken care of. So starting off here, this is some flux that I'm putting on here. This is just flux that was left over from soldering copper pipes. So if you need to get some of this, just run to Home Depot and just get whatever they have there for soldering copper, and it worked out pretty well. So I'm just putting a little bit on both of the parts here. On the first couple ones of these, I put way too much flux on it, kind of dribbled everywhere, and made the lacquer on the saxophone, or actually I think it was a trumpet, look kind of crappy. So you don't need a whole lot. You can go for a fairly sparing amount and have it still turn out pretty well. Here I'm just putting some copper on here just to kind of shield those corks. I, again, probably would have taken this further down, but I didn't really want to spend a whole lot of time on it, and it's not my instrument or my kid's instrument, so I did not want to take any chances on damaging anything on it here. So I'm just covering up that stuff to keep it from any kind of harm, and just kind of localize the heat there. And so I'm using just a regular blowtorch here. Just it's one of the ones that you can kind of dial the heat down. When I first started doing this, I would just use the normal push button ones, and it is really hard to just kind of touch enough heat on there to get it to flow without really putting too much heat in it. You're going to damage the lacquer in a pretty wide area. So I like this one. It lets you kind of dial it back and not get too crazy with the amount of heat you're putting in there. Got those duck bills there just to kind of hold it in place until I can get a little bit of heat in it and keep it from moving around here. And I haven't done a whole ton of these, so like I have a little bit of a hard time kind of telling if the whole pad is done here. So what I'm doing is just taking a piece of solder here. This is just rosin core like you would use on a PC board, and just kind of touch it along the edges here just to see like if it's hot enough there that it will flow in. And if it is, I figure I've probably got enough heat on it to get the pad to stick back on there. Because the first one I did these, I really kind of roached the lacquer around there and really put too much heat into it. The next one I was really careful not to do that and ended up popping loose. And then so ever since then I have kind of done this technique here just to try to double check that it's actually attached. And also if you just add a little bit of extra solder there, I figure it's just a little bit extra, extra glue to hold it on there. And of course I have my hand in the way here, so you really can't see what I'm doing here. But yeah, I'm just working that solder around the edge of the part here and just kind of touching it in there a little bit just to make sure that it flows in there. There you can see pretty well what I'm doing. And you don't want to get too crazy here. You don't want to just keep feeding it until it drips out of there, because then it ends up leaving a big ugly solder pad there. But turned out pretty well, and I'm pretty happy with this. And yeah, there you can see I'm pulling that copper off there. That really just shields those felts from any heat.